What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be going over the top complete 3D packages out there. Now the first one we're going to be getting into is Blender. Now Blender is a very powerful 3D tool, and it's probably the most complete tool here. Now Blender is a community driven tool, so of course there's going to be a really active 3D community around this software. Now Blender is more often used in indie productions or solo productions because it's a more of a hobbyist type tool. Now I say a hobbyist type tool because it's not heavy into the industry. Now I know a couple people might say that, well, this tiny studio uses it or this one uses it. Well, overall, you're not going to see Pixar or Disney using Blender, at least for the time being. Now this doesn't stop them from constantly pushing and making their software better than almost everything else out there, because they have recently just put out, the 2.8 update. I've made a couple videos about it. Now, I personally think that the charm of Blender comes from its community and that it's not so heavy into the industry, because then there will be a lot of regulation and oversight on the software. And of course, it's completely controlled by the users, which makes it, one of the best pieces of software you can find out on the market. Or actually, I won't say out on the market because it's free. So just go up on the site and download that. Now I'll get around to reviewing the 2.8 update once I actually get used to the tools there and really understand what's going on, in the interface. Now the next one we got is Cinema 4D. Now Cinema 4D is more motion graphics heavy. So if you want to get into motion graphics and just work with titles and intros and animations, stuff like that, then I would really recommend Cinema 4D. Now, Cinema 4D is pretty affordable. It sits at around $1,000. Now, of course, $1,000 might seem crazy, but in comparison to the other softwares I'm about to list off here, that's pretty much the cheapest one here. Now, a lot of people might be introduced to Cinema 4D through After Effects, and that's because it has a pretty integrated system with After Effects. Now, of course, After Effects, they have other plugins like Element 3D that really works well with After Effects. But Cinema 4D is a complete 3D package. So learning to understand this software is really going to help you out when it comes to, professional work. And another thing too is that it's pretty easy to use. It's not too complex. And if you want to get into something a lot more dense and complex, then you should look into other pieces of software. Now, speaking of complexity, let's talk about Houdini. Now, Houdini is probably the most difficult software to use here on this list. Why? Well, everything in this software is procedural, so you're going to have to go in it with a different mindset, because it's very, very difficult to really get a handle on if you come from other pieces of software like Maya or Blender or whatever else you might come from. They usually have like a linear workflow. Well, Houdini is very different, so it's really going to take some real effort to really jump into this one. Now, Houdini is extremely procedural. Pretty much everything in the software is procedural, and they're best known for their effects, like fire, smoke, water, and fluid simulations that are really difficult to do in other pieces of software. So if you jump into Houdini, most likely you're going to be able to pull something that is like film ready, because that's how powerful this software is. Now, this is the most expensive piece of software, so it ranges from about like $2,000 to like something like $7,000, $8,000. Now, of course, there's a trial version, so if you want to just get introduced to it, then they have something for that. Now, 3ds Max. 3ds Max is probably the oldest 3D software, and it's the one that most people are most familiar with. If you say I do 3D and they know anything about it, they would assume 3ds Max, because it's just that old and it's been there for so long. Now, 3ds Max has been moving into games, so it's kind of the gaming standard. And if you want a pretty safe space in the 3D world, then 3ds Max would be the best way to push into that space. Now, 3ds Max isn't too hard to learn, but since it's so heavily embedded in the industry, it'll be worth your time to go in and master this software. Also, it's the most popular, so there's that too. Now, Maya. Maya is very similar to 3ds Max in terms of its industry power and everything like that. Now, the thing about Maya is that it's more in the area of film. So pretty much every animated film ever was pretty much created with Maya. Now, of course, these are feature-length films. Now, you got some short films that are created by people who use Blender, but for the most part, almost every animated film is created in Maya. Now, Maya is a little bit more difficult. It's probably the second most difficult software that I listed off. Of course, Houdini is the hardest one to learn, but Maya is pretty much there. It's very hard to learn, but once you got a firm grasp on things, then you're going to be able to do pretty much whatever you want. Now, they got a couple new motion graphics features and a couple other things that are pretty new to Autodesk products. And the default render engine is now Arnold, so of course, the quality of your renders is going to be top notch. That's just about it. Now let's get a discussion going down below, and I'll be back with some more. Bye.